Can SMU contend in the ACC in year one? I think they can because of schedule. Speaking of schedules, we're about to give you our top 5 team total over bet best bets. We're going to start in the Big Ten with Nebraska. I know you guys have heard this story before. Nebraska is going to finally turn this thing around. They're going to start winning these one possession games. I actually think they will in year 2 under Matt Rule. In Matt Rule, we trust. You look at Temple, that situation, first year 2 wins, second year 6 wins. Waco with Baylor, first year 1 win, second year 7 wins. 5-7 last year. I think they could be favored in their first 7 games. You know, the X factor here is Dylan Raiola. You've got a true freshman quarterback. People are giving him rave reviews. The 2023 win total for the Huskers was 6. They go under at 5-7. This year it bounces up to 7.5. I think they could be favored in their first 7 games, probably favored in 8 or 9 games. Need to cash this ticket before we get into late October because they've got a tough close with at Ohio State, at USC, Wisconsin, and at Iowa for their final 5 games. But I think you get a cash ticket here. I think Nebraska's 8 or 9 wins. I like their over. We're going to the SEC next, and the Auburn Tigers. Again, another year 2 for head coach Hugh Freeze, and I think that's going to be the difference. You know, this Auburn team last year, if you had a ticket on Auburn over the 6.5, and the way they lose to New Mexico State at home, the way they lose to Alabama on a 4th and 31, just bad beat overall. But this year, the last year's win total was 6.5. This year's is 7.5. I like the over 7.5. I think Peyton Thorne is going to be solid. I don't think he'll be spectacular, but I think he's going to be good enough. Weird schedule here for the Auburn Tigers. They open with 5 straight home games, and they're going to be favored in at least 4 of those. Wouldn't be surprised if they're favored against Oklahoma in week 5, depending on how they play the first few weeks of September. Then they go to Georgia. We're going to give them a loss there. At Missouri, that's going to be really difficult. Kentucky's going to be tricky. In the end, at Alabama. I think 8 is the number for Auburn. Wouldn't be surprised if they win 9 games. Let's go back to Missouri last year. Their win total was 6.5. They cashed that easily with 11 wins. Auburn could be this year's Missouri. Watch out for that. Now we go to the ACC, where we've actually got a lot of ACC flavor here. I've been hyping up Miami the entire offseason, and I think they're going to be the real deal. Hard to say when you look at Mario Cristobal in his first 2 years, 12-13. Going into year 3, it's pivotal that Mario Cristobal starts winning some of these one-possession games. 4 of his 6 losses last year by 1 possession. But you bring in Cam Ward, incredible story there. This guy can ball, almost 14,000 career passing yards, 119 total touchdowns. You can combo that with Damian Martinez, physical running back coming in from the Oregon State Beavers. I think the backfield's going to be incredible. Last year's win total 7.5. They go under at 7-6. They bump it up to 9 this year. I think they could be favored in up to 11 games. At Florida to start the season in the Swamp, that is going to be a huge game for both Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal. You get past that, though, you start to look at the schedule. I think Miami could be undefeated when they host Florida State on October 26th. Again, major swing games when you look at Florida, Virginia Tech, at Louisville, Florida State. But I've got Miami going over the 9. I think they're 10-2, and they've got a chance to get to a college football playoff. The most experienced team in college football, at least with returning starters in the Power 5, is Virginia Tech. Brent Pry in year 3, only 10-14 overall. But Pride did a really good job of settling this squad down last year. They opened 1-3. They finish on a 6-3 run. They've got no Florida State. They've got no Louisville. Kyron Drones, dual threat quarterback, over 800 rushing yards last year. Win total in 2023 was only 5. It's bumped up to 8.5. A lot of this is because not only the returning starters they've got, but they're probably going to be favored in 6 of their first games, and they may be favored in 10 games overall. I think it easily goes over 8.5. I think Virginia Tech will take it back to the Frank Beamer days. I think they get double-digit wins. I think they're 10-2 this year. And then maybe the biggest surprise in the ACC, and maybe the best value play out there when you're looking at team totals, to me, is SMU. And I know a lot of people look at SMU and they're like, this doesn't fit. The realignment is crazy. But SMU, yes, in the ACC year 1, I think things could actually be really interesting for the rest of the ACC that has to deal with SMU. Rhett Lashlee in year 1, 7-6. Last year, 11-3. The win total was 8.5 last year. Easily goes over with 11 wins. They stick it at 8.5. And I think you're getting so much value here because if this is still an American team with that same schedule, SMU more than likely is 9.5. But because they're in the ACC now, You probably get a valuable full game here. I think they're going to be favored in 10 games, major swing games with Florida State and at Louisville. But this is a really interesting schedule. I think they are favorites in 4 of their first 5 games for sure, and then maybe only a dog at Louisville, possibly. We'll see how these squads are playing. But based on schedule, I think SMU goes over the 8.5. I think they're a double-digit win team and maybe a sleeper to win the ACC in year one. Again, for all the plays, go to lanceslock.com. $100 gets you absolutely everything at lanceslock.com.